Hello and welcome. You're with IndiaPostLive.com, India's first live web TV conversation portal. Well, it was only in the last Lok Sabha that for the first time since independence, the number of women who made it to the lower house of the parliament or the Lok Sabha crossed 50. Well, we always hear of advertising gurus talk of the power of 49, but the reality remains women are woefully underrepresented in the parliament. Take a look.
11.4 members of the 15th Lok Sabha are women, and it does not look like that the statistics are going to improve significantly. Political parties have been shouting hoarse about women's empowerment, but when it comes to choosing women candidates, they seem to backtrack. According to data released by the Association for Democratic Reforms or ADR, women candidates account for a paltry 8% of the total tickets distributed in the elections so far. Representation of women in the Lok Sabha is still much lower than the world average of 20%. So after all the brouhaha, are elections in India primarily about men and women offering only a symbolic presence?
So do women offer only a symbolic presence in Indian Parliament? We are going to have a conversation on that. All of you are invited to join the conversation. Just click on www.indiapostlive.com. You can send us your tweets, #IndiaPostLive. Joining us in the studio is Kiran Bedi. Kiran Bedi is India's first woman IPS officer. She is a crusader on various issues. Her work on prison reforms has been outstanding. She's a social activist and also in many ways a political commentator. I also have with me joining us on Google Hangout, Ranjana Kumari, another crusader for women's rights. She's the director of the Center for Social Research. And also Anupama Jha. Anupama Jha is the regional expert for Trace International, which is an anti-corruption body. It's an international organization. I welcome Ranjana Kumari ma'am, Anupama to the conversation. Kiran ma'am, thank you so much for coming to the studio.
My pleasure.
Let me first start by asking you, it seems to be a very grim situation. You know, the number of women just doesn't seem to be adequate. We talk of the power of 49, but when it comes to, even this time, women candidates, the first 6 phases, only 8%.
Women are not a vote bank.
And why is that?
I can tell you politicians cater to vote banks, and you've seen this happening. Not that we should like to be a vote bank, not that women should be a vote bank, but there is no unity of one voice as to what women want. We're very divided in a way. We're not divided. I think it's mute. The voice is mute. We're not divided. We all want security, I'm sorry, but we are mute. We are very controlled. And there are very few independent voices. The voices are there, but they're within homes, or in a neighborhood, or in a small group, or maybe in a small village panchayat, but it's not on the platform. And that's where the voices are not united. When they were united, we got what we needed. When they got united. And I know I've seen this women's movement since 1975, when I first got my assignment in Delhi Police. I've seen women, including Ranjana, the remarkable voices which were on the Rajpath. They were all on the Rajpath. And you know, there's legends like Kapila Hingurani and Mrs. Butalia. Oh, I've seen my legends. They were my legends. I used to look up to them. So, but those voices are mute, or they're not loud enough. So therefore, women are not a vote bank. They are not asserting themselves for the reason because they're not united. You see people coming as on a caste, they're getting united. On a faith, you see a unite. Though it's not, I'm not being judgmental, it's not being right or wrong in it. But the fault is that women will not come in for the reason, my friend, one of the biggest reason is women don't have that money power. They don't have the muscle power. You know what I'm talking about, the muscle power? Is the lung power. Today, the politics requires a huge lung power.
Okay.
Where do the women have the lung power? The kind of politics we've created demands a huge lung power. And I don't think that kind of voices, that kind of lung power, the money power, the lung power, and secondly, the position power, the resource power. So therefore, I feel that women who are making it are coming because they're product of their own families and homes. And therefore, there's a great support system. There's a support system. The Sushma Swarajas are like exceptions. They've grown in politics. Either you grow, The point is, if you want women in politics, to my mind.
But you're not really allowed in, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, where is the option? Secondly, if you made it through women panchayats and you can barely make it to the legislative assembly if you get the ticket again. So there are women activists who can come through it, but then they're not picked up by the women male because women are not in policy making. Women are not at the top of the high commands, and where you have the high commands, you still don't have any performance.
Let me get Ranjana ma'am's view on that. Women are not the vote bank. In fact, this phenomenon, Ranjana ji, is a pan-India phenomenon. I mean, you don't see any difference, that any particular state or any particular region, you have more women being represented. What are your thoughts on what Kiran ma'am has just said?
Yes, I think problem is, I totally agree with Kiranji, and also I think problem I see at two levels.
Yeah.
One, of course, that women are not organized as vote bank, as she rightly said. But more than that, now when you look at the recent past and even this election, women have voted more than men. And women are much more politically now ambitious. Women have much more political, they want bigger stakes in the system because of the Panchayati Raj institution and the representation in Panchayati Raj. But the problem is that at the level of the political parties, they have become, in a democracy, tools of patriarchy, basically, the political parties, because totally male dominance in the political party. So they encourage two types of women, actually. One, of course, the women who belong to the political families, the women who have, and also the women who are well protected women, so they can venture into politics. They will not go through any kind of violence on them. They will not go through any character assassination. They don't have to deal with the nitty-gritty of the political rule of the game. Second type of women are like ornamental presence. The women who are just being picked up by these male politicians for whatever it suits them in terms of, and so they do not have their own power arena. They do not have their own constituency developed for themselves. They depend totally on the, they are like these, as some point of time, one of our famous prime minister was called Gungi Gudiya, and later she became a very dominant figure in the Indian politics, and that is Indira Gandhi. But nowadays, it's basically the women who either climb the shoulders of the men and they know how to kick them out. Very strong, formidable women leaders they become. But
right.
Unfortunately, such leaders do not want to associate themselves with women issues. They do not create a women's constituency. They do not work on women as voters. They do not work on, issues which are around women, because they think that their own leadership image will become less strong leadership image. They will, if you associate with women leadership, for example, Mamata Banerjee, Jayalalitha, Mayawati, all Sonia Gandhi, all these people would like to play the game by the rules of the patriarchal male-controlled political parties so that they can survive and they remain leaders. They do not have the courage to challenge that. They do not have the courage. Even when they talked about, for example, the two major political parties of the country talked about 33% in the decision-making bodies. Kiranji said that they are missing from decision-making. So when they were asked to be there, they could not create that kind of a change in the political party.
We could not even create a political
BJP
consensus.
has 1/3 women in the decision-making bodies, nor Congress has, no political party has. Because when you bring in women, the spaces will have to be vacated for women. And which man or which male leadership wants to vacate that place?
Right,
Either
all right.
you climb on their shoulders, kick them out, they let you be there.
Okay.
Or you be ornamental, just be very nice, say the things that sing their songs, say the things in their praise, and survival. And that becomes kind of a compulsion for female. So by and large, I'm saying that women will have to bash the, or you can say the whole bastion of male leadership can be only smashed when women leadership becomes confident, stronger, and
right.
does not feel shy of associating themselves with issues and problems of women in the country.
Right. Let me bring in Anupama Jha now. Anupama, you just heard what Kiranji and Ranjana ji have said. Now, basically, women leaders themselves do not talk about women's issues, is what Ranjana ji said herself. And also, I'm sure you're aware that, out of the more than 500 women candidates that we have in these elections, over 100 are independents. Political parties themselves are not giving, propping up women candidates. What are your views on that, Anupama? Anupama.
Absolutely. We all know what has happened to Women Reservation Bill.
Right.
That continues to remain an issue. Also, I feel, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Anupama.
Okay, also the fact that an enabling environment has to be created in order for women to come forward in politics and do what they should ideally be doing. Uh, there are the Panchayati Raj institutions.
Right.
They have this women reservation.
Yes.
But we know in lot of villages, because I have done a lot of work at the village level, we find that women sarpanches and mukhias, they don't attend meetings. Their husbands do it for them. In many cases, they are called mukhia patis. They attend the meetings instead
Right.
of the women representatives themselves. As Ranjana ji said, that they only have an ornamental presence. So what is extremely important is to create an environment, enabling environment for women, for more women to participate and create an effect. But in order to do that, probably the males in this country and also worldwide, I would think, are too scared to give that opportunity to women. And that is where the role of women leaders is extremely important. Women leaders have played an important role in the corporates. We have women politicians, but the important question is how much have they contributed to the women cause?
Right.
That
Yeah, right.
still
That
remains
is,
to be seen.
that is a contentious issue, and in fact, joining us in the studio, I have with me Penelope. Penelope is a correspondent with AFP, and she's going to give us a very international perspective on the entire issue of women leaders. We were just talking, Penelope, about the fact that women leaders, even the fact that the panchayats have reservation, but it's a symbolic thing. You have essentially their props. Their husbands are the ones who attend the meeting, as Anupama just said. Kiranji also said that the women are mute. Women's issues are not really being talked about. What is your perspective? You have been working in India for several years now. What is your perspective on the fact that women are so poorly represented in the Lok Sabha?
Well, I think it's not just in India. It's everywhere that we have this kind of poor representation. I mean,
Right.
11% is low, admittedly, but then again, the global average of 20% really isn't anything to shout about. So, I mean, it's a problem that's worldwide, and each country has its own reasons for these kind of problems. And with India, you have all sorts of social caste, everything issues that have contributed to it. But at the same time in India, one has to note that the women, while they're not so visible perhaps in parliament, they're very visible on the national scene. And I think you've got some very powerful women, there are some very powerful women leaders in this country, and what it may not have on the ground in terms of Lok Sabha representation, you have a lot of women out there who are very strong forces, and so for women to look up to.
But as Ranjana ji just said, those women, the women leaders, are themselves not talking about women's issues.
That is a perennial problem with I think we have with all women leaders. There aren't women who specifically. Why? I think there is a sense that they have to. Well, they're trying to make it in a man's world, and sometimes I think they try to be more male than the men, and so they don't.
That's the only way they can survive, isn't it?
Yes, and that is there's this whole aspect of fitting in. I mean, you see it not only in politics, but you see it at the corporate level as well. So women aren't always necessarily their own best friends, and so I think when we look at trying to reach out or to improve the situation of women, we can't confine it to being just women that we're looking to improve the situation. We have to look to men too, because there are many men out there who are very progressive, who have daughters, who have sisters, who have mothers, who think very a great deal of, and want to
women themselves need not be their own best friends. A wonderful point raised by Penny. Kiranji, what do you have to say about that? We are not our own best
I
friends.
think it depends. It will vary from a woman to a woman.
All right.
How secure she feels.
Right.
If she feels secure, she'll groom second level leadership. And in that second leadership, if she is also pro-women of that kind, she'll balance it.
Right.
But if she's insecure, she'll groom no one. She'll not even groom a man. She'll not groom even a man, let me tell you. So insecure leadership grooms no one. Secure leadership grooms women and men. But a woman who's also an activist woman, secure woman, will groom women too. Then she'll bring in more balance in society. A balanced, secure woman will bring balance in society. But
let's talk about some of the leaders and find out what you have to say.
For example, what grooming did Mrs. Gandhi do for the next level?
Yeah, what grooming?
What grooming has
Mayawati?
What grooming has
Mayawati
both the
done?
ladies, Mrs. Gandhi's. What has Mrs. Sonia Gandhi groomed? Her only son? Probably not still enough, right? So I'm not being critical, I'm just being analytical right now. So what kind of grooming have they done? Political leadership. What kind of grooming? Who is the next leader after Mayawati? None. Who is the next leader after Jayalalitha? None. Who is the next leader after Mrs. Sonia Gandhi? Her son, not enough still, right? But is being still groomed.
Mamata Banerjee?
Who's the next leader? Who do you see even as a male leader? That's exactly, you see, they don't groom at all. Forget about
So are
women.
you saying all these women leaders are
Forget
insecure?
about
You're
women.
saying all these women leaders are insecure?
Forget about women, they're not even grooming a male successor. See, barring a son maybe, who's without being democratically elected, democratically chosen, is just being imposed. Saying that's it. So they are very dictatorial. So women become even more dictatorial than the men.
So even in positions of power, Ranjana ji, even in positions of power, women leaders are insecure. Do you agree with that statement?
Because you are playing a game which is the rules are being totally defined by the patriarchal male leadership of the political party. And also you see, not only that they are insecure, but also when you look at the how democratic these political parties are, you have 3 to 4% women members in the political party. Membership of the political party across the board is not more than 4% in any political party when you look at the women membership. Then when you look at the political party bodies, who decides who will be the member of these political party, executive committee, parliamentary board, state leadership, whatever level, then it is the leadership which decides. And normally 99% these leadership is either male leadership or women under the control of the male clique. These the men who surround these women who really make all the decisions for them. So that's how it happens. The leadership of the kind that we see of late globally, and I'm very glad that somebody is going to talk about the global picture. 1995 in Beijing, when we all got together, 20 years behind, that is 1995, we had only 10% women in politics, and today it's only 19%. So how much have we really moved in terms of global agenda? Of course, it is true that 89% countries have changed their constitution, or political party in those countries have changed their constitution to bring more women in. But that is not enough. That is not enough. Women are in a democratic system should be natural, leaders. They should be coming forward naturally. Space should be given to them. India's constitution did not reserve 90% seat for men, did they? But what we are seeing after 66 years that never we have crossed 10%.
Right.
As far as the representation in parliament and state assemblies are concerned. There are state assemblies where not a single woman is represented. So this is what comes to when you have women leadership which is not assertive, which is not strong enough, which does not feel, as you say, secure enough to be able to groom, build and to develop the leadership. So, even when you look at it in the bigger context, the democracy is not sustainable in the long run if you have just half the population represented all the time. So how do you, a power of 49, I mean, what happens to all these women who are there?
What is
their
also
issue, their
interesting,
agenda?
Ranjana ji, what is also interesting, and let me bring Anupama in this. Anupama, there was a report in the Hindu which talked of, wherever the incumbent MP is a man, the parties are not propping up women candidates. If the incumbent is a woman, then you have at least 2 women candidates contesting that particular seat. But if an outgoing is a man, then you hardly have any a woman candidate contesting. So what does that really speak for the way things are for that particular seat?
Clearly, men are more insecure. That can be the only reason why. I haven't seen this report, but if this is true, then clearly they are very, very insecure. But there is another point that I would like to make here is the point about the existing women political leaders that we have in this country today. Whether it is Jayalalitha or it is Mayawati, we had tried to do a study on what have they done about corruption. And we find that when it comes to competing with men in corrupt practices, they are not far behind. There was a time when it was believed that women, wherever you have women, the fairer sex, there would be less corruption. But worldwide, we also find that women, whether it's the political leaders or women in positions of power, when it comes to corruption, they absolutely compete with men.
Let me also bring in another aspect. Penny, let me talk to you about that. Rwanda.
Yes.
20 years after that genocide, the highest number of parliamentarians in the world, more than 50% parliamentarians, and the women there are bringing about the kind of social change that Anupama just spoke about, be it education, be it health. And I know that Kiranji also has some insights on that. What are your thoughts on the entire social revolution that happened in Rwanda? I would call it a social revolution, really.
Well, it clearly is a social revolution,
Yes.
but it was arrived at such a horrible price,
Yes.
and obviously the society had gone through a crucible.
Yes.
And so what we're seeing, I mean, it's a positive development, but out of such, I don't think any society should have to go through that kind of upheaval to arrive at that particular state of affairs. So I mean, I think that women can have a much more nurturing and progressive role in politics, but I still don't think it is exclusively confined to women. We just have to have people of goodwill who have good governance at their heart, the heart of their agenda, and also have society's needs at the heart of their agenda, rather than self-enrichment. And this goes globally. This is not just,
I mean, if you compare, Rwanda and what has actually happened in India, just look at the years. We are talking of the history of the Lok Sabha. We have that graph for you. It is only in 2009 that it crossed the 50 mark, and it's gone up and down and up and down. But
yes, there's been no
dismal
breakthrough.
picture in a total number of
Yes, it is. It is a dismal picture.
500 plus. I mean, you have just 58 in 2009, and I don't think that number is going to increase vastly.
No.
No, because they have not given seats to women to contest. How will that increase?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. You have just and 1/3 of them are independents. 1/3 of the candidates are independents.
And so that makes them marginalized in many instances.
Right.
As a result.
You had a very interesting perspective on Rwanda.
Other than Rwanda, if I could pick up the argument,
sure.
is let's understand why whether it's men or women, why don't they groom a second leadership?
Yeah.
Insecurity is inherent in Indian politics.
Can I just read out a tweet? There was a tweet that came in from Shubhadeep Mitra. He says, "Good, let men do their duty and women theirs." I really wonder what that means.
Yes, women should be in the kitchen and men should be in the
But please keep
parliament.
those tweets coming in. It's interesting to know what India thinks, really. Very interesting to know what India thinks. Yeah, please. So there's one more called Richie Lutharia. He says, we want 50% reservation of tickets for women in all elections in India. All right. So these are the tweets that are really coming in. Please keep them coming. It's interesting to know what you think. It's #IndiaPostLive. And you can also join in the conversation at IndiaPostLive.com. All right, ma'am, you were saying.
You see, this is one profession you can't be compelled to go into.
Right.
because it's a whole, it's a 24/7, it's a mission, and it takes every bit of you, it demands every cell of you into this. Unless you're in a missionary mode, why are you in politics? Either you're there for money or you're there for mission, right? How many would like to choose the mission without money? So I think the politics itself inbreeds insecurity, because you are recognized as long as you have power. Power keeps you going, otherwise you're finished. So why would you create a competitor? Why would you create an inheritor unless the inheritor is your son or daughter-in-law, whatever, is your confidant? So I think insecurity is inherent. It breeds within politics itself. So how do you expect men to encourage women and get themselves challenged and get themselves unseated? So I think that expectation, to my mind, was also defeats this whole issue. So that. Secondly, my argument is, do we have many women engineers? Do we have very many women scientists? Do we have very many women cops? No.
Yes.
Why? Because we don't have a constituency. We don't have a constituency because our inbuilt inequalities of opportunities don't throw up a large constituency where you can make a large, which threatens the system.
You talked of cops. I mean, Sonia Gandhi has said that she wants to increase the number from 5% to 25%.
Which challenges the system. I want a woman parliamentarian who is prepared, who is competent, who can take the country forward. I just don't want a dummy googie who's just covered her head and sitting there. So I think the key also is, what kind of woman do you get? And that kind of woman, would she get into politics with the kind of muscle power which requires, the kind of money power which requires? I do not know. Whether educated, self-respecting women who don't have the money, who don't have the muscle power, but have the merit power, will such meritorious women make it? I do not know.
Ranjana ji, let me quickly come to you. We're almost running out of time. You know, Kiran ji raised a very interesting point. What about the winnability factor? I mean, first of all, most political parties have the propensity to re-nominate, standing MPs. But also you have, the women like Gul Panag and, where the success rate of women is 11% compared to 6% of men. Then where is what do you have to say about the winnability factor of women candidates?
Well, I think one of the reasons we have identified in our study, which we released this week, violence against women in politics. So besides what Kiranji is saying, money, mala, men, muscle, and the mic. Mic, as she said, lung power. So all the 5M, if you discount and say that women don't possess all that, then you are also talking about violence against women in politics. You're talking about how women, the moment you walk into a political party office, the way they look at you, the way they scrutinize your body, the way they are, asking for sexual favors in political parties. Women have talked about it, and we have reported in this Women report that how women are also facing a lot of sexual harassment. Gul Panag herself in this election, Hema Malini, a lot of people have in some or the other way, even in Chandigarh, when you look at the election where, one of our former Miss India is contesting from Aam Aadmi Party, you see all these women, and not only at the Panchayati Raj, even at the level of parliament, that there is so much of violence against women in politics. Physical violence, psychological violence, through character assassination. So that acts as a huge barrier for women themselves to enter political scene.
Anupama, let me come to you. We were just talking of, you've heard us talk of various issues. Let me come back to the contentious issue of women's reservation bill, which somehow has not managed to get a political consensus. Mulayam Singh Yadav, Lalu Prasad Yadav, they've been vehemently against it, and they have said, in fact, that you already have reservation for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe of 22%. Now, if you add a 33% reservation, that's a 55% reservation. So he has, in fact, Mulayam Singh has talked of a 10% reservation. Do you think a women's reservation bill is the solution to all problems?
No, I'm not saying that women reservation bill is a solution to all problems, because as has been pointed out by all the speakers so far, that if even the existing women politicians, they haven't done much for women. Right. So I'm not saying that it is a solution, but definitely it's very important for women to be in a position where they are making policies, and it is hoped that if there are more women in positions of power at the policy making level, they will do something for women who are suffering. Because right now we are a group of empowered women and we are talking in the studio, but look at all those women out there who are suffering and there is nobody to listen to them or talk to them or support them. So what is extremely important is women reservation. I'm not saying that it is a solution to all problems, but definitely it's a step forward and we really must have it.
All right.
In fact,
Well,
women
nowhere in the world women have got into power. Just 1 minute I'll take, because
Surely.
since I'm really struggling and struggled to get the women reservation bill even in the previous parliament, I think it's very important for us to know that all the countries, either they were post-conflict countries when they wrote the new constitution, whether it is South Africa, Nepal, or Rwanda, you just mentioned about that, they have given space to women, even in Afghanistan and Iraq, but or it has been, the Scandinavian countries. Unless you have reserved seats for women, women have, by their own strength, have not been able to enter in numbers in politics.
Right.
I
In
also
fact,
think
yeah.
one point I'd also make is that if you have a substantial number of women in Parliament, they will no longer feel they have to act like men, and will be able to push the agenda of both their male and female and
Absolutely,
constituents, but they will have the courage to do it because they'll be strength in numbers.
Yes, at that time they won't feel
Yes.
feel the pressure of being one of the few, not
One
even
of the
one
few
of the very few,
boys.
one of the few boys.
just
yes.
as you have reserved constituencies for certain backward castes,
Yes.
unless you have reserved constituencies for women, you may not get women.
Right.
You may not get
we have a very
So
interesting
let
tweet.
a woman compete against another woman.
Right.
Then they're on the same muscle
It's
path.
a level playing field,
It's a level
as
playing
it were.
field. Otherwise, if you have a woman facing a man, it's not a level playing field.
Yeah, we have a
The
very
kind of
interesting
resources.
tweet.
Second-
You know, he
yeah.
says everybody thought that nothing would really happen on so many issues, but the anti-rape law happened. Similarly, we will fight, we will continue to fight, and we will get it. He's talking of the reservation, I suppose. So wonderful. All right. Last comments from you. You have said that we need to have more parliamentarians, women parliamentarians. Only then they will not have to act like one of the boys. All right. Last comments.
No, I just say, referring to that, the rape law, I think that we saw men and women coming out. So
Coming
it's
out.
really a matter of everybody who's progressive and who's forward thinking,
Right.
really getting together on this. And I do
Forward-thinking
think
people.
it's important to have that mass of people and women in Parliament so they can gain strength from each other to pass the policies that are required.
All right. Those were Penny's last comments. Ranjana ji, last comments from you.
Yes, I think unless we will pass women's reservation bill, there is no way political parties will make space for women to enter politics. It's extremely important to recognize that women needs to get representation, not only by just charity, but it's their right to be equally represented in parliament and state assemblies. So I hope the government, incumbent government couldn't do it, but the new government which is coming, I hope will be able to pass women reservation bill. That's the only surest way to ensure
Anupama-
women's participation in political process in the country.
Thank you so much. Anupama, 30 seconds, last comments from you.
Well, I think like-minded women and women who believe in the power of women must come together, and it's imperative for all of us, those of us who are in the studio today, we must work towards empowering women and supporting those who are not as lucky as we are.
Right, right. Kiranji,
I
last
think
comment.
there's absolute need for political governance schools. We are not creating any nurseries.
Right.
Therefore, most of the people who are coming into politics are coming by default. So men are naturally coming in, women are coming by default. Why should they come by default? Let's create political governance schools in every state. Every state creates and grooms men and women, right? In that, you will start having grassroots orientation of young college girl who then encourages to become
leader.
a panchayat member, then she becomes an MLA,
Yes.
and then she comes up. She will then come up on her own strength. I
Right.
think there is not a single governance school. There's just one in Pune. But I think we don't. It's something like the Kennedy School of Good Governance. We need to
Kiranji, we
create.
run that IWIL program, India Women in Leadership program in IIM Bangalore, and we wanted to repeat the course, but as it is, there is hardly any
All right.
resources.
Ranjana,
available
that's
in such
coming.
initiatives.
that's coming at a little late. I've been to that program. It's coming too late when the woman is already 30 plus or 25 plus or 30. I'm talking about a college girl.
College level.
I'm looking at a
So
school
you're
subject.
grooming women to become future leaders.
So that they become members of panchayat first.
Right, right.
Why should they think of parliament and cabinet members? Why can't they begin at panchayat
all
level?
right. That's all we have time for, Kiranji. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all my guests, Anupama, Ranjana ji, Penny and Kiranji. Thank you so much for talking to us. I think we had some wonderful insights on the issue of empowerment of women. Thank you so much for your tweets.
Thank you.
We will carry on the conversation at
Bye, Kiranji.
www.indiapostlive.com. Thank you so much.